Greetings all, I am Seminary Scholar, and this is my channel, where I discuss the beliefs of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. To preface, I have attended the Church's seminary and institute programs, and I am striving for accuracy. However, I'm not an official resource for the Church. If you would like to see some official documentation, I will have my sources in the description below. This week, I'm going to continue my multi-parted perspective essay on what we call the plan of salvation, which we believe is Heavenly Father's plan for us as we go through mortal life and continue into the afterlife. In previous videos, I've discussed the premortal existence, mortal life, and the spirit world, which is where we believe our spirits go after we die. And this week, I'd like to discuss what we refer to as the resurrection and final judgment. So we believe that after our spirits have dwelt in the spirit world for a time, and we've learned and studied and we've attained an understanding of what it really is to embrace or reject Heavenly Father's teachings in this way of life that He has created and that will allow us to return to Him, after that point, we will be resurrected. And when I say resurrected, what I mean is that we will be restored to our mortal body, except for that it will be repaired of all injury and all deformity. Any mental, physical, or other kind of illness that afflicted your physical body will be restored to normal and to perfect functionality. We also believe that those who died as children and infants will be resurrected. But it's a little bit different functionally. They'll be resurrected to the body that they died with. And then they'll be allowed the opportunity to grow up like normal. And then once they reach their peak physical state, then they will simply continue that way. It's kind of a common question to bring up that how will Heavenly Father restore our spirits to our bodies if our bodies have been decomposed and decayed? Because obviously there are some people who have been dead for a very long time and their bodies just straight up no longer exist. And the best counter I've been able to come up with for this argument is that Heavenly Father created the original human body, and I have no doubt that it is within His capability to recreate our physical bodies, or to restore them from whatever disparate state they're in. When you consider the fact that He is literally the creator and architect of the universe, I highly doubt it's beyond what He's capable of. But that is how we explain that, and that is our understanding of how that functions. There is another concept that factors into the resurrection, and we refer to this as the law of restoration, and it applies in several ways. But what the law of restoration is it's a simple law of the harvest. What you put in, you get out. And this applies to the state, not necessarily the functionality, because as I said before, all bodies will be restored to a perfect functionality, and we will be able to live forever in those bodies because they will no longer be mortal and we will no longer die, or our bodies will no longer have the capacity to die. But something will be different from person to person, and that is the degree of glory that will be awarded to that person. And this is dependent on how we chose to live when we were alive. Now, when I say degree of glory, I don't think there is a single hard-clad definition, but we do know that glory refers to a literal and real sort of power and influence. I mentioned in my premortal existence video that it is in our doctrine that in the premortal existence we live with Heavenly Father, and the reason that the atonement was that Christ's atonement was necessary was because it was not possible for a being that had sinned to return to the presence of the Father, because His presence is infused with such a intense glory that a being that had sinned and not been redeemed would be physically uncomfortable in His presence. Like, over a period of time, it would be nigh unbearable. And we believe that this is a very similar concept, that when we are restored, we will receive varying degrees of glory. And the glory we receive will also be indicative of the level of glory that we can tolerate. So those who have chosen to live like Heavenly Father according to His commandments and precepts, and who have chosen to do their best to be like Him, will receive a glory that is akin but not necessarily equal, because we believe that progression extends beyond the resurrection and even beyond final judgment. But likewise, just as there will be those who choose to follow Heavenly Father's commandments, to live the way He lives, and to achieve that higher glory, there are also going to be people who simply don't want that, even after they have been taught in the spirit world and they fully understand the implications of not living to that standard. Some people are just going to want to be content doing less. And those who choose that will be perfectly welcome to, and they will receive a lesser glory. And that is, in a nutshell, what we believe happens in the resurrection. And this last piece that I've mentioned about being restored to different degrees of glory also ties into the final judgment, which is where we believe we will be less judged, but sorted, as well as judged in two different degrees of glory. We don't believe in a traditional non-binary system, a traditional binary system like many Christian faiths. We don't believe that the options are heaven on the one hand and hell on the other. Instead, we believe in different degrees of glory or different degrees of paradise, and there is one place that you really don't want to end up, but it's very difficult to get there. But I'll talk more about that in my next video. But once again, final judgment, as you might expect, is the law of restoration. The way you have chosen to live, even after being taught and understanding completely what the stakes are and what the consequences are, the way you choose to live after that point determines the kingdom of glory that you will be sorted into. And the thing I'd like to emphasize more than anything is that this is all a choice. This is all free choice. And the way we live, even though we are able to choose, we can't change ourselves just like that. I think everybody knows that. But we can change ourselves slightly and incrementally over time. As we choose to act differently, as we choose to believe different things, as we understand things differently, we slowly end up changing. But if we set ourselves too far in to one state of being, then we kind of start to lose the ability to really want to do anything else. And Heavenly Father will absolutely help anyone who wants to attain the highest degree of glory, who wants to go home to be with Heavenly Father again. He will make it happen. That is not an issue. The only barrier between any person in this world and the highest degree of glory, we believe, is your willingness to live the kind of life that is required for that. And if that's not what you want, then that is not wrong. But we believe that it's a choice, and we believe that people need to be fully informed before they're even capable of making that choice. But yes, this has been a brief synopsis of the resurrection and final judgment. Next week, we're going to be talking about the kingdoms of glory, which are the result of the final judgment and what each of those entails. Thank you for staying with me and following this video or this series, however long you've been watching. And I hope to see you next week.